discussion of this day where we are discussing Go Beyond to Grow Beyond. The next panel discussion topic is the role of MFDs over the next decade. As we are targeting the year 2033, let us understand the importance of MFDs in growing the business of mutual fund industry in the next decade. Let me first introduce our panelists to all of you. We are going to have Certified Financial Planner and Senior Assistant Editor Mint, Mr. Jash Kriplani, who is going to be our moderator for this session. Let us welcome him with a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now take this opportunity to invite on the stage our first panelist for this discussion. And I would now invite Mr. Anthony Heredia, MD and CEO, Mahindra ManuLife Mutual Fund, to kindly join us on the stage. Let us welcome Mr. Anthony with a big round of applause. Following him, I would now request Mr. Kailash Kulkarni, co-CEO, HSBC Mutual Fund, to kindly join us on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the applause should not stop. All of us just had lunch, so we have some energy to throw in some applause for our panelists. So let's do that, and let's call on the stage our next panelist, Mr. Mohit Bhatia, CEO, BOI Investment Managers Private Limited. Can we welcome him with a big round of applause? And last but not the least, I would take this opportunity to invite on the stage Mr. Akhil Chaturvedi, CBO, Motilal Oswal AMC, to kindly join us on the stage. I would now hand over the dais to Mr. Jash to take this session forward. So, Jash sir, over to you.
Checking. So we have a task of keeping all of you all engaged after lunch. We are going to try our best. We can maybe start with a straw poll from the guests that we have here on the panel. I would like to ask them, about 3 years back, AMFI came up with a figure saying that mutual fund industry can reach rupees 100 trillion mark by 2030. And, I would like, now we are at 40 trillion. We are still a long way to go, but we are closing in on the halfway mark. So I would like to ask them how confident they are that, by 2030 we can reach that mark. We can start with Anthony.
So, in a lighter vein, the power of compounding will anyways take 40 lakhs to 100 lakhs. So I think the debate should be, outside of the power of compounding, is 100 lakh going to become 150? And I say that is something that I'll be pretty confident about. So 100 lakhs is, I think, just the current assets. It's almost like a stock market prediction for 2030 then.
I'll echo what Anthony says. In fact, we'll be much more. But because it's a post-lunch session, if you permit me 30 seconds, can I just do something? Yeah. So I'm just going to say Laksha Pakka. All of you have to say Jeet Pakki. Okay? I want to see the energy in the house. Laksha Pakka. Jeet Pakki. Laksha Pakka.
Jeet Pakki.
JP, तेरा आवाज ही नहीं आ रहा है यार. Laksha Pakka. Jeet Pakki. That's it. Good energy.
Yeah, so I think, like Anthony pointed out, there's no question that, we will not reach that number. I think we can do much more. Interestingly, we'll also need to watch out for the, growth in number of folios and how you really see just one pointer here today. And if you compare it with what used to be, say, maybe 10 years back or 5 years back today, I'm sure all of you would have noticed while value is very tilted towards the larger cities, But still, if you look at the application number or SIP number, they're almost 50-50 between top 30 and B30. So I think that's an interesting number that we should all watch out for. And while 100 lakh is given, the other thing to really work on would be to look at high penetration.
I mean, I would agree it's a power of compounding. तो आज अगर आप सब अभी सो जाओ और 10 साल बाद आप उठो इसी रूम में तो basically 100 लाख करोड़ का mark will be crossed. I think equity आज 15 lakh crore है. Equity itself will be today's AUM, 40-45 lakh odd crores. Only the equity part, right? So पिछले कुछ सालों में demonetization के बाद में मतलब जो trend है कि जो Indian investors हैं वो म्यूचुअल फंड्स, ऑर्गेनाइज्ड इन्वेस्टिंग, SIPs इसमें काफ़ी काफ़ी अग्रेसिवली आ रहे हैं. और आप देखिए पिछले साल 1.5 साल में जितने फॉरेनर्स बाहर गए हैं करीबन $40 बिलियन बाहर लेके गए हैं, $40 बिलियन अपने खरीदे आप लोग के थ्रू, राइट? सो ट्रेंड इज राइट, मोर एंड मोर इन्वेस्टर्स आर कमिंग इन, preference to invest in mutual fund is going up, SIP figures are going up, so no doubt that we will reach this mark. The thing is that can we beat this? Can we beat the 100 trillion mark? So let's work together on this.
Right. Okay, now let's get on to our main discussion today, the role of MFDs over the next decade. So I would like to start with you, Kailash. We have seen several new investment products and asset classes emerging, whether it is crypto, startup investing, alternatives in the last 3 years. How can MFDs ensure that they still remain relevant with the investors? What are your thoughts on this?
So MFDs will always remain relevant. I don't see that to go away at all. Let me try and explain it in two different ways. One is the products that you mentioned, and two is about people. Today, it's a complex world. Financial services is not easy to understand, and they are qualified to study all of us, our products, and then recommend the right product to the customers. The customers, some of them may stray, कुछ बाहर जाएंगे, खुद से कुछ try करेंगे, but जैसे मार्च 2020 में हुआ था, जब 30% 15 दिन में मार्केट गिरता है, you can't put your shoulder on a computer and cry. You need a shoulder to cry on, right? I mean, finally computer पे रोएगा तो computer बात नहीं करने वाला है तुमसे. कौन बात करेगा? MFD बात करेगा. तो relevance is always going to give there. अगर market सिर्फ यहाँ से यहाँ गया और ये volatility नहीं रही, तो शायद MFD की जरूरत नहीं होगी. But do you think the market is going to go like that? Yes, it will go like that, but intermittent it will be wavy. So you'll always need somebody to help you in this context. Now, when it comes to the products that you mentioned, thankfully we are standing at a time कि 70% Bitcoin गिरने के बाद आजकल कोई Bitcoin पूछता नहीं है ना? But जब 100% ऊपर था, तब तो हर एक आदमी आपसे पूछता रहेगा कि Bitcoin. तो मेरा एक simple analogy है इसमें कि every person should decide कि उसका कितना कॉर्पस है जहां he is willing to take zero. Okay, is it 5%, 10%, 15%, 40% of his net worth, and invest in those products. But if it becomes zero, don't cry, because that's a conscious decision you have taken. So no product is bad. No product. I have it for myself also. I have a kitty and I invest in risky products. And that kitty, I know mentally कि zero हो गया तो मैं रोऊंगा नहीं, because ये conscious decision था. So that's how it is. I don't look at these as competitors at all. They are a part of the ecosystem. And I keep saying that insurance is the best friend. We should do whole life policies of 100 years, which is as good as guaranteeing death, and term insurance, which is very, very high. And if a good advisor is doing MF, whole life, term, health, because आज के दिन में एक heart attack, your bill can go 15 lakh rupees, then they are doing a very good job of it. So,
Anthony, would you like to add to that?
So I agree with what Kailash said. I'll just probably think about it from a business perspective, right? How does the MFD's business evolve? I mean, we're very fond of calling it a profession, which it is, but I think many people in this room, we now have revenues which qualify to be called businesses. I think the challenge and the opportunity for MFDs over the next decade should be to think about the fact that their bulk of customers are soon going to become the next generation of their current customer. And so therefore, what are you going to do in the way you approach the customer, manage the customer, think about the customer's expectation and evolve your own approach and organization, I think will give you a lot of ammunition to deal with the next decade. I think the next decade from an opportunity perspective is going to be tremendous for a very simple reason. Kailash touched on the relevance of MFD. One of the reasons, for example, I think the MF industry is at the 40 lakh crore mark has not only been because we have done good things. Sure, we've done good things, but we must be honest itself to admit that we've not done everything which is good. It has been because the alternates have been weak. Right? And we must always be humble enough to realize that. But I think for the MFD, that circumstance where your alternates that your customers can do to approach for financial advice and distribution, I think are becoming weaker by the day because they are effectively being guided far more by revenue and commercials than the interest of the customer. And I think it's inevitable that eventually customers will realize that an MFD genuinely, it's not like nobody's here for charity, right? Everybody, but just think about it. Every MFD started pushing for trail commissions long before it became fashionable. Yet some of the people you compete with in the organized sectors are pushing for AIFs because they still pay upfronts. To me, that is your big opportunity because eventually, all said and done, you could argue about the quantum of trail, but trail commission is naturally allied to your customer's interest, right? Because if you're tying your interest. So that is the point I would make. The other thing I would say as a suggestion, and I think it's a suggestion even to ourselves, is I think we should also focus on succession. I think because a lot of the generation that we have served as customers are reaching points in their lives where transition of that wealth will be an issue. And honestly, it's very complicated. If you think about how the nomination process is, I know a lot of criticism have come, for example, about SEBI's recent initiative. But trust me, it's actually great for the customer because you believe me, when somebody passes and actually you have to transfer wealth to the next generation, it's a nightmare. So I think that could be another opportunity set because I think that's where, see, on technology, etc., you are competing with the best of banks, right? Today you can offer paperless transactions, etc. I think where you could be the next point of weakness could be succession because they could invest in, resources to say, I'll help you. I think as, PIFAA is a great example of an organization can kind of get together. I think that's another part where I think will be a challenge that I think the MFDs need to solve for. How are you, like I said, so I'm summarizing, how are you going to transition your success of the last 10 years to the next generation of your customers' families? Because they are going to ask different things. They may want more passive, etc. And secondly, for your current customers, how do you transition that wealth from a succession standpoint? I think those two things are things I would recommend.
Right, yeah. Yeah, those are quite good points. Akhil, I would like to ask you, according to you, realistically, what is the opportunity size for mutual fund distributors over the next decade?
Yeah. So thank you so much. So I'll just extend to some of the points made earlier. So all of you would have heard about the story of tortoise and hare, right? हाँ या ना? थोड़ा आप साथ में जवाब दो तो फिर सोओगे नहीं, right? तो tortoise hare की स्टोरी में क्या होता है कि लास्ट में tortoise ही जीता है, right? तो अपने म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में ऐसा ही हो रहा है. So जब ये इंडस्ट्री स्टार्ट हुई थी और ग्रोथ फेज में गई थी तो इनिशियली इट वाज डोमिनेटेड बाय national distributors, banks, etc., right? Mutual fund distributors, IFAs, they were a very small component. Today you see the penetration in the mutual fund is dominant by IFAs or mutual fund distributors, which is now 40%, right? This used to be less than 10% 20 years back. So slowly, steadily, all of you are making a very dominant kind of a penetration in the mutual fund distribution business, right? So kudos to you for that. And this will only become bigger because, like Anthony was also talking, the alternates are moving towards different trajectory, right? They have the different goals. They have different business plan for themselves. आप लोग का जो business plan है वो basically बहुत मेहनत करके clients बनाना, फिर उन clients को retain करना सालों साल, right? आपका personal brand involved रहता है. और उस पर्सनल ब्रांड को मेंटेन करने के लिए यू एंश्योर दैट यू गिव राइट एडवाइस, राइट प्रोडक्ट्स, हैंड होल्डिंग एट द राइट टाइम्स व्हेन द मार्केट्स आर डाउन, बिकॉज आपको वो क्लाइंट खोना नहीं है, राइट? सो दिस इज द प्राइमरी रीजन. एंड ये जो भी कॉन्फ्रेंसेज होती है, आप लोग जो आते हो, यू बेसिकली कमिंग टू टेक नॉलेज, वैल्यू, insights which you can then share back with your customers. So ये जो भी आप इन्वेस्टमेंट अपने आप में कर रहे हैं और फिर ये जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है आप आगे ट्रांसमिट कर रहे हैं, और जिस तरीके से आप क्लाइंट्स को ग्रो करेंगे, क्लाइंट्स के वेल्थ को ग्रो करवाएंगे, उसके साथ साथ आपका ग्रो होगा. और वहाँ से अगर जश का क्वेश्चन ले तो मेरे हिसाब से मैं आपको एक नंबर देता हूँ. मैं 2-3 कॉन्फ्रेंसेज में ये बता रहा हूँ कि 10 सालों में म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स एज अ कम्युनिटी का assets under management, only the equity part I'm saying, not the fixed income side, this could potentially be 40 lakh crores. 10 सालों में equity AUM of mutual fund distributors could potentially be 40 lakh crores. कोई reaction ही नहीं है. A complete blank.
It is sinking in.
So
थोड़ा time लगता है.
It's very simple. 12 साल पहले टोटल इक्विटी AUM था 1,40,000 करोड़. उसमें 35% था IFS का, so which was about 45-50,000 odd crores. Today the equity AUM is 15 lakh crores and IFA contribution is 40%, which is 6 lakh crores. Correct? तो 50,000 का 6 लाख मतलब 10 गुना तो हो ही गया. Alright? अब ये 6 लाख करोड़ अगर आप कुछ नहीं करो, मतलब आप सब बिजनेस बंद कर दो, ये 6 लाख ही रहता है और 12% से ग्रो करते हैं. 15% नहीं बोल रहा हूँ और 8 नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. 12 कंपाउंडिंग इज गुड फॉर 10 years. 12% इक्विटी मार्केट दे देगा शायद, राइट? तो 12% से कंपाउंड करेंगे तो 3 गुना तो ऐसे ही हो जाएगा. तो 6 लाख का 18, तो 18 लाख करोड़ आउट ऑफ 40 लाख करोड़ इज प्योर कंपाउंडिंग ऑफ योर करंट एसेट्स. नाउ इंक्रीमेंटली जो आप ऐड करेंगे, और उसका भी मैंने पूरे कैलकुलेशन किया हुआ है, सो इवेंचुअली इट इज ऑल एक्सेल शीट, बट यू हैव टू मेक एक्सेल शीट विच is moderate and aggressive. So I'm talking very moderate numbers. Everything is connected to the economy. तो अगर ये लगता है कि इंडिया इकोनॉमी फास्ट ग्रो करेगी, 10-12% का नॉमिनल ग्रोथ रहेगा, अगर ये इकोनॉमी यहाँ से 6 ट्रिलियन डॉलर होती है अगले 10 सालों में, और इसमें 28% सेविंग्स है, और उस सेविंग्स में से 60% फाइनेंशियल सेविंग्स है, और उस 60% फाइनेंशियल सेविंग में 10% इक्विटी में आ रहा है, राइट? और उस 10% इक्विटी में 40% आप लोग ला रहे हो, म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स. That number will be about 25 lakh crores. So existing 6 lakhs growing at 12%, then every year this savings which is coming, incremental savings, that money plus that money also compounding at 12%. तो एक्सेल शीट में आपको फॉरवर्ड कर दूंगा, बट ब्रॉडली मेरे हिसाब से किसी ने सोचा नहीं होगा कि 10 साल पहले आज 6 लाख करोड़ होगा, और शायद कोई ये विजुअलाइज नहीं कर रहा है कि 10 साल बाद ये मैजिक ऑफ कंपाउंडिंग है दैट विल टेक ऑल ऑफ यू टू 40 लाख करोड़. 20 साल पहले हम लोग, एंथनी और कैलाश सब हमें, मोहित एंड ऑल, हम लोग 20 साल पहले जब इंडस्ट्री में आए, 20-22, आई मीन दे स्पेंट सम मोर टाइम, द बिगेस्ट ऑफ द बिगेस्ट IFAs यूज्ड टू बी व्हाट 50 crores, 75 crores. I mean that was like the top number one IFA AUM, right? Today those guys are at 1,000 crores, 1,500 crores, 2,000 crores. तो आज जो बिजनेस स्टार्ट भी कर रहे हैं, जो यंग म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं, मतलब अगर 10 करोड़ मैनेज कर रहे हो तो वो 50 होगा, जो 50 कर रहे हो वो 150 होगा. आई मीन दैट इज द काइंड ऑफ स्केल वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो it was always a sunrise business, it is a sunrise business, it will remain a sunrise business. So I think the opportunity size is big. And आप देखिए ना, सिर्फ 3 करोड़, मतलब हम बात करते हैं 7 करोड़ फोलियो, 8 करोड़ फोलियो, but that is not the right number to look at. We just have 3 crore pan individual, 3 crore pan who has invested, just 3 crores out of 140 crore people, right? So बहुत बड़ा है. All we have to do is दिन में 70% टाइम प्रोस्पेक्टिंग, न्यू इन्वेस्टर्स जिनने म्यूचुअल फंड शुरू नहीं किया है, SIP, मतलब फोकस करके वी हैव टू हैव टारगेट्स ऑन नंबर ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स एंड एक्चुअली AUM एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. दैट इज व्हाट आई बिलीव. दैट इज व्हाट can take us actually faster than 10 years where we can reach, right? But very, very, very big opportunity, and for you also, for us also, I think it's going to be a great 10 years ahead of us.
Mohit, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll just add to what Akhil said कि आप अगर numbers किसी भी side से देखें, so from the, from your existing AUM and building it up based on compounding is one way, and what you can add. The other way is to look at savings. हमेशा is a function of your earnings, right? So if you look at GDP, of course, we are, if all of you believe we are in the Amrit Kal, and going forward, I think, and looking at the $6 trillion economy, abhi bhi aap dekhenge to very simple maths is that, like he said, gross savings rate is 30%, in which the private savings is about 18-19%, and if you bring it down to net savings, so which is really what matters, क्योंकि आजकल हम लोग सब ट्रेल फी पे हैं, whether it's a manufacturer या distributor, हमें उससे मतलब है कितना assets है हमारे पास. तो net financial savings in India का rate has fluctuated between 6 to 10%. I think last year it was about 9%. तो अगर आप 200 लाख करोड़ या 250 लाख करोड़ का इकोनॉमी देखते हैं तो उसमें से आपका 15-20 लाख करोड़ is coming every year into net financial savings. And then if you look at one number which can be an indicator of कितना पैसा आ रहा है हमारे और equity में, जैसे for example तो हम देखते हैं SIP book हमारी 13,000 करोड़ के ऊपर है अभी. And therefore if I take that to be a proxy of net money flowing in, so we'll be getting about 1.5 lakh crore. And that works out to say about 8 to 10% of the net financial savings. Now can this 8-10% go up? Because other segments bhi hai, we are competing with other market linked products, definitely. For the simple reasons that हम लोग जो एक चीज़ बोलते हैं ना कि भाई, and he very rightly mentioned about the tortoise and the hare story. So this is a slow, मतलब होता है ना racer, but it's going to win because we are very very efficient, we are very very transparent, and somehow होता है, मुझे याद आता है जो सबसे tough boss होता है उसको हम सबसे ज़्यादा याद करते हैं because he's the one who adds value. So SEBI, I think in that sense has taken a lot of tough measures in terms of getting the industry and the ecosystem right, which is paying off because अभी आप देखेंगे तो investors खुद आते हैं, right? SIP has become a brand in itself, right? So people talk about that, and it's not just something that we say, but all of us have this experience कि मैं भी देखता हूँ आज से 25 साल पहले जब इंडस्ट्री में आए थे या अभी, today family members talk about SIP, the way they want to start off. So to me again, there is a big opportunity. There are also challenges. See, it will always be going on in your mind क्योंकि आप लोग veterans हैं, you are the practitioners who really deal with customers कि ये सब तो पता है, but करना क्या है उसमें, right? First thing is obviously to size the opportunity. I think that if you look at every day, it tells you means and ways. So while this is going to become a game of volumes, but certainly I think with a lot of innovations coming in, with a lot of good market practices coming in, or simple reason सबसे बड़ा ये है कि we are a very transparent industry, not just by standards of what you see in Indian financial products, but globally. अगर आप किसी और की फैक्ट शीट उठाते हैं किसी और कंट्री की, you will not see 100% portfolio disclosed month on month. I think this is something that the Indian mutual fund industry does. So everything is very clear, and that is what customers love. So reaching out to customers and scaling up is a challenge, but I think given the huge opportunity, each of us will find a way as a manufacturer and distributor association in this. That's from my side.
Sure. And I would like to ask you, Kailash, and then Anthony can come in. How do you think MFDs can upgrade themselves, whether it's to do with skills or technology? Now we have more competition from fintechs. Direct plans are also seeing some traction. What are your thoughts on this?
First is, I think the people sitting in this room and PIFAA, I think whenever we've had discussions with PIFAA, I think for I don't know how many years, I remember a dialogue. He said, आप आधा दिन का ट्रेनिंग रखने वाले हो, एक दिन का ट्रेनिंग वाले हो, लोग नहीं आएंगे बैठने को. And he said, we want members who want to learn because this industry में learning is future. If you stop learning, you die. So people like PIFAA have set the bar कि भाई हमारे members को कुछ ना कुछ training, investment in increasing your knowledge continuously करना चाहिए. And they have lived with that motto. I remember the first time I addressed PIFAA, everybody was in a blue shirt with written PIFAA. And I was shocked because आज तक हमने ऐसा कभी देखा ही नहीं था किसी के यहाँ कि discipline, uniform, time पे आना नहीं था. So और Saturday को पुणे से मुंबई आके यहाँ बैठना पूरा दिन सुनना. I said hats off to y'all guys, which clearly shows that they want to learn and want to improve. So I think that is something which is very relevant. I think one thing I'll tell you, in our industry, morning 3 o'clock and evening 3 o'clock is different. Okay? So if you stop learning, you are a dinosaur very fast. Dinosaurs took thousands and millions of years to die. We will die within a few months. So learning is a continuous process. Can you just imagine Anthony or me going to a corporate meeting or going to a MFD and saying, $72 hai. And you very well know dollar is not 72, right? It's something else. How stupid we will look. And sometimes the dollar rupee changes in the day by 1 rupee. So if we don't keep ourselves updated in knowledge, then we are going to die. So that is something so important, and compliments to Sandeep, you and the entire team, past and future people who will be there for keeping this alive. So that's something.
Sure. Anthony, you'd like to add,
So I will sound a little bit of a slightly cautious note. The threat from, let's say, fintechs or others, or this whole obsession with direct and passives is rising. Okay, and I say this not to make you worried, because honestly, as a business, for example, we run, which is purely active, it is something that we debate. And I just spend a little bit of time explaining how we are thinking about it and whether you may want to take the same path. I think the first is to acknowledge that if they are pretending, or not pretending, but in actual fact demonstrating that they are using technology to offer a particular service to a customer, I believe that in our business and in the MFD business, if there is one thing that has democratized life, it is technology, right? And so one of the messages I would give is that irrespective of a typical customer you may have who may prefer physical, I think ensuring that you make sure technology is part of the way you conduct your interaction with the customer is key to competing with these guys. That's point one. But point two, I think, which is missing is marketing. And I'll give you a classic case of a Hindustan Lever, right? I mean, in Hindustan Lever, the guys who become CEO, I'm sure a lot of you know, are typically guys who come from marketing. Not the guy who does production, not the guy who does sales, it's typically the marketing guy. And what does he do? He makes sure that the customer believes he is far better than he actually is. I think in the MFD community, it's the reverse. I don't think the customer actually appreciates what you do. And I think you have to take a hard look at yourself saying, am I actually marketing? So customer looks at the fintech and says, wow, you know, they do this and that. But I will give you a simple example as a lesson, right? You just take the minimum return of any category of fund and the maximum return. Look at the differentiation. Look at what you have advised your customers to do. See the average return of that. That itself is your first marketing ploy. Where is then the debate of saving 70 basis points of direct? If the differential between the best performing small cap fund and worst performing small cap fund over the last 1 year is 25%, why are we debating 0.5%? And I am telling you for sure, it's not just PIFAA. You look at the MFD community, because we see these numbers on an aggregate basis. Which segment of distributors gives you the most longer tenure money? MFDs. Which effectively means that if we are thankfully at a point where the market is at close to its highest over the last 2-3 decades, the customer who is the wealthiest is the customer who has come to an MFD because his churn has been the lowest. Are you marketing that to your customer? So I would, for the lack of time, say two things to compete. One, don't forget that if you have to compete with these guys, technology will have to play a role. And number two, I think look at your own business, look at the successes, and I think you need to start marketing that to your customers. They appreciate you, but I think that appreciation needs to be more institutional.
So I just wanted to add one point. How many people do SIPs? Can I have a show of hands? Everyone, right? So when we go to a client, हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? सर आप 5,000 का SIP करो, 3,000 का SIP करो, 10,000 का SIP करो. Yes or no? How do we decide that? Because we think we understand the client and we give a number. Yes or no? Yes? Reverse it. Do it as follows. I can tell you your SIP numbers will, per SIP will multiply 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. ask the client what's his total income minus his household expenses minus his EMIs. So total income, which could be rental income, salary income, business income, whatever it is, minus household expenses, minus EMI, minus discretionary spends, restaurant jana hai, holiday pe jana hai, minus whatever is balance, 80 to 90% of that should be SIP. And if you use this reverse formula, if you had gone to a client thinking that this client can give me a 5,000 or a 10,000 rupee SIP, I can guarantee you it will be 30,000 or 50,000 rupee SIP.
Mohit, I would just like to ask you one thing. When it comes to new distributors, they wouldn't have the same access to technology or may not have the same resources and larger distributors. How do they compete and upgrade themselves in terms of technology?
Okay. Yeah, so interesting. I would think that slightly different view that in terms of scale and access to resources, obviously the larger guys will have an edge. But then, you also kind of substitute that with agility and nimble-footedness, which a smaller outfit or a newer outfit. And it is very evident in the way, I look at a generation next to me, which is my kids and others and their friends. And the way they explore and approach things is very different. And similarly, I would think that people setting up a shop today for mutual fund distribution will look at it in a very different way, which sometimes is more appealing. I'll come to that. And second part is technology. I don't think so. Today, if you really want to have access to technology for usage, it is available. In fact, what is going to be the differentiator is the technique. Okay, so the technique is more important than the technology when you really apply it. And I think that, and some of the fundamentals remain the same for everyone. And more so now, given that the industry has evolved, we've seen a 30-year track record in the industry. So, you will see that client is always also looking mostly for alpha creation, which everybody has a very different interpretation. But, more or less, I would think that from a retail investor's perspective, leave apart the technical definition, would be how consistent your returns are and how are they matching the expectation of the customer. Second most important thing that has come up over the last few years is avoiding drawdowns, right? Or a golden rule in our industry. It's like, we are in that baseline tennis game, ki bhai, if you are not making unforced errors in a market like India, you will win, right? So therefore, from a new guy's perspective, I think a lot of things that are going their way is that they are, obviously not having the baggage of the past. Their access to technology and the ability to accept these changes is very high. But then I would think that these time-tested lessons of ensuring that there is, alpha creation that's demonstrated, like, Anthony said that, we are not marketing what we are doing, whether it's the manufacturer or the distributor. It could also be related to the kind of regulations that are applicable for our advertisement code. But the fact is there is a lot to kind of articulate and tell them about. But more importantly, I think there is the focus that has to be there on avoiding deep drawdowns, because ये हम सबको clear है कि भाई आपका अगर एक bad decision हो गया तो उससे आपका 1-2 साल के returns जो होते हैं they kind of get lost. So therefore, what not to do or what not to invest is going to be equally important. And then finally coming to, so these things I think as a manufacturer we take care of. So the job of a distributor is कि आप ये देखें in the portfolio that which are the funds that are doing well. So while asset allocation is important, security selection, when I say, it means choosing the funds here is equally important. And again, borne out by the fact that there is a lot of difference, leave apart the small cap funds. Even if you look at the large cap funds, there's a lot of difference between the median, the top and the bottom performers. So that's going to be the focus area. Identify with the style of the fund manager, what is it that you are comfortable with, your clients are comfortable with. So that part is done by the manufacturer. Finally, what a new guy can done very well compared to the old guys is aligning to changing consumer preferences. Okay. So abhi pichli uspe discussion mein we had this thing come up on the behavioral finance that a lot of clients are today going to Reel instead of YouTube, right? So that's something which the new age distributor can do very, very well, right? So I think it's an equal opportunity. The opportunity to scale is provided by technology in a big way, and technology accessible to everybody, and it's technique that's going to make the difference. Thank you.
That's a good point. Akhil, I would like to ask you, how can MFDs cater to both retail as well as HNI investors? Both are different set of investors. What kind of skills are required? How different it should be, for the MFDs?
Yeah, so I'm sure all MFDs would have a mix of retail investors, and then they would have some HNI, super HNI clients also. And if you are having a mix of retail and HNI customers, then one has to open up to a lot more ideations, a lot more product baskets, a lot more asset classes, because the rich guy or the HNI, super HNI, clearly after making money, having enough money in his bank, is looking for differentiated products, right? And products which are beyond the conventional mutual funds. So conventional large cap, mid cap, small cap, sab ho jata hai, then how much of that, right? So then they want to see something different, something exclusive, something very, very close to them. These kind of, it can be additional behavior bias or whatever you call it, say HNI behavior bias, right? They want things different. And there is where I think in the last couple of years, there are many managers, many asset management companies which are coming with a lot of new stuff, new products, new ideations, listed, unlisted, hybrid, yield-based funds, on the alternate investment vehicles. I think very, very interesting ideas on the real estate side. There's a new fund which has come, which is now talking about investing in the logistics sector. So, right, there are a lot of things which are coming up, and I feel that mutual fund distributors are kind of limiting themselves only to one set of products and not trying to open up and understand different kind of products which their HNIs would probably be seeking for. And if you are not doing that, then you are losing that wallet share, because that money then eventually is going, it is certainly going, because those buckets are growing at a very fast pace. But you will lose that and somebody else will take that. Since we spoke that you have very, very strong relationship with your customers, then you have to ensure that everything comes to you. So eventually, we don't have to take this advisor word very, very seriously, honestly, I'll tell you. At some scale, we are also doing business, we are also doing sales. And when we are doing sales, I generally say to a lot of my distribution friends that you have a sales folder, right? So हम लोग म्यूचुअल फंड वाले फोल्डर लेके घूमते हैं, तो लेफ्ट में होता है पॉकेट, राइट में पॉकेट होता है. तो लेफ्ट में आप रखिए म्यूचुअल फंड, ये वो जो भी 80% वहाँ रखिए, 20% keep different stuff. Keep 1 or 2 PMS ideas, keep 1 or 2 AIF ideas, keep some differentiated ideas, and you never know. और जब वहाँ पर लॉटरी लगती है ना, सो म्यूचुअल फंड में आप लेके आएंगे 5 लाख, 10 लाख, 15 लाख, 25 लाख का चेक, और जब वहाँ लॉटरी लगती है तो फिर 5 करोड़, 10 करोड़ ही आता है, 25-50 lakh नहीं आते हैं. So suddenly your scale will change. Also, what it will help you, apart from getting assets, and to do that, your own learning will go up. It's not easy stuff to understand. They are alternate products, so you have to get full understanding of the product. Compliance, execution, everything is very, very important. Taxation, sab jaruri hai, right? So your own learning curve also will go up. And a combination. Yeah, so I'm sure you will hear, I'm limiting myself because मेरा नाम थोड़ा खराब हो गया MFDs में, बोलते हैं कि जब आते तो ये अपना PMS AF का बात करना शुरू करें, तो I'm limiting myself to that. But I can tell you that with whatever efforts we have put, 12% of our alternate assets are now mutual fund distributor driven, right? So individual IFAs are giving 12% our total non-mutual fund assets. So जो समझ रहा है वो समझ रहा है, और जो कर रहा है वो कर रहा है. I will keep doing my job, and I will keep telling you that this is a very large opportunity. Don't miss it. We are not losing it. We are not missing it. We are trying to participate there. Open up, talk to the manufacturers, but it will help you grow in size. It will help you get better wallet share. It will also help you increase your margins and your revenues. Sab kuch jaruri hai business mein. So just open up. Don't be closed.
I'd just like Kailash or anyone actually to take one last question and then we'll open up for Q&A. How do you see, women MFDs playing a role in the industry? We have seen some, a lot of women MFDs also doing some great work in the industry and building asset base. How do you see they playing a role in the future?
So hopefully 5 years later, the ratio in this audience will be 50-50. Okay, so that's very important.
Hopefully, we need that.
Okay, so that's what I hope. I think, let's be practical. Who is a better financial planner in the house? If anybody answers anything other than the woman, they are lying. Okay, I'm being blunt. You give a lady of the house, especially a homemaker, 25,000 rupees, she will make the 25,000 rupees last till the 30th. Not only that, she will save something. Okay? You give her 40,000 rupees, she will ensure everything happens. You give the man the same 25,000 and 40,000 rupees, 1 week before the end of the month, he will be looking at abhi paise kahan se laun. But that's the truth. Okay? And that is why during demonetization, you found so much money in the hands of the women, right? Which were not known to the husbands. That is the truth. So I think financial advisors, women have to just overcome the inhibition to become financial advisor, but I truly believe they are very, very good at it.
I'll just add one point. I think women MFDs have one significant business advantage which I think they can think about, which is, I think, forget the proportion of women MFDs to total MFDs, which is low. The number of women in a typical investor household that are actually involved in the decision making is even lower. And I think women MFDs actually have a much better chance to have conversation with the women in the family. And logically, you would think in the next 10 years, while we may talk about Amritkal, etc., all the men are going to get even busier in their daily lives making money. So I think there's a great opportunity for women MFDs to actually engage with the women in the customer's family. And I think that is something that, men can't do beyond a point, right? And I think I just wanted to highlight that to all the women MFDs out here. I think that is a opportunity that you should think about, not just engaging with the person who has historically been making the decision. I think, and I'll just make one point. I think Mint used to create these portfolios of successful investors in the last 6 months. One of the things I noticed is there is a question, does your wife get involved with what you do? 90% of the people, it includes people like me, say no, they don't. And nobody said that they don't because we don't want them to. It just somehow it's not happening, right? So I think that for a woman MFD is a great opportunity to get involved in.
So maybe we can now open up for audience Q&A. Yeah, 2 questions maybe we can take, maybe we can squeeze in 3, but yeah, 2 is what I'm getting the limit as. So any questions anybody would like to ask? Okay, there is a question there.
आप ही बोलो कैलाश सर आप ही बोलो सर you go first.
So today technology helps. If you are located in Pune, can you cover Baramati, Latur, Osmanabad or other parts of India? Yes, you can. So I don't think that's a limitation today, but please understand tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 India is growing much faster, and the ability to accept that they need to make their lives better is much higher than what we believe. Two problems. अगर तुम tier 3 में जाओगे और P by B, PE, XYZ, ABC बात करोगे तो भूल जाना. वहाँ पे simple language, local vernacular, whether it's Hindi, Marwadi, Marathi in Maharashtra or any other location is very important. Finally, truth is कि आपने 20 साल पैसा रखा तो पैसा बढ़ता है. Data लेके जाना है और बात करनी है. That's the truth. But if we don't focus on that area at all, I think we'll lose out. And we are sitting in NSE, right? NSE का platform है. If you are signed up on it, you can serve anybody sitting in the remotest corners of the world. तो वो है.
Sorry, you could.
Yeah, so clearly I agree with the Kailash that incrementally, I feel after 10 years, tier 2 cities will become like tier 1, tier 3 will become tier 2, tier 4 will become tier 3. So, as the economy will grow, obviously you will see that more and more cities will come up the mark and they will become very, very relevant. Also, the way the whole infrastructure is getting planned out in terms of the road connectivity, airports. So, as you can connect faster, I mean, you can travel to locations faster. Like now, I think with this new road coming up, Bombay-Pune travel time will come down further by 30 minutes, right? We're trying to bypass the ghat and all that stuff. So that connectivity part and all will bring the smaller towns and cities also closer to the mainstream cities, right? And that will happen not only from a communication perspective, but also in terms of what's happening in the bigger towns, in terms of knowledge, in terms of capital market exposure, mutual funds, all of these things will happen as the technology. Everybody has a smartphone. So most of these people in the smaller town cities have full access what's happening, what's not happening. In fact, we have a broking business, so I can tell you that a lot of new direct equity investors are actually coming from the tier 3, 4. I mean, I think it would be 60% from there, the retail ones, right? So I think it is happening. In fact, I will tell you that we are seeing some big checks also coming from there. From Bhilai, and I mean, a lot of our alternate products, we see smaller towns, large checks coming in. We have a private equity desk and a lot of new businesses, entrepreneurs are there in the smaller towns. We've just given money, almost 600 crores to a company in Morbi. So that money is now moving there. Then from there it goes to their employees who have the ESOPs, right? So that wealth creation is happening there. Certainly I would feel that incrementally B30 or the smaller town cities will contribute. We need to add, I think there is a drive which is already going on, where we need more mutual fund distributors in those parts. They need to be trained, and a lot of us, like people like Alpa and all, they're doing a lot of work to do that education, those trainings, to pass knowledge and these opportunities to invest into mutual funds. So ये color बहुत change होगा अगले 5, 7, 8, 10 सालों में. It will change a lot. I would see.
To add this one thing that आप लोग मैंने पहले भी एक data share किया था कि if you look at, there's an interesting report that comes out from CAMS called MF Trends, हर महीने आती है. तो उसमें अभी आपका value still is in favor of the top cities, but if you look at the application numbers, SIP numbers, it's evenly divided. See, that's a big thing. 50% अगर आपका B30 से आ रहा है, that's a very big thing. Another important data which is important for MFDs is that if you look at aggregate data, mutual funds का उसमें about 45-48% direct है, right? But if you look at granular data, जब आप equity का data देखते हैं या B30 का देखते हैं, वहाँ पे regular is still above 80%. So direct is in the range of about 10 to 15%, 18%. And regular, if you look at equity, B30, smaller cities, still a large chunk wants to be advised. So that's a big opportunity, and Kailash, I think, showed the way. We are sitting in a place where NSE platform helps you reach out anywhere in the country. I think so we should use that to scale up and reach out. It's a fantastic opportunity, I think.
Right, I think with that we can close the session. It was quite interesting. I think it was quite interesting in terms of, we could see what MFDs can expect in terms of opportunity, what they can do in terms of scaling up. So, and I can see a lot of people were paying attention, so I think it was a good session at the end of it. So thank you so much to all my panelists.
Can we hear a big, big, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panelists. We would like to felicitate all of you. I would first request all of you to please come forward for a group photograph. And I would now request Mr. Harshvardhan to kindly join us and felicitate our first panelist, Mr. Anthony, here on the stage. I would also request Ms. Alpa and Mr. Sandeep to also join us. I would request Mr. Harshvardhan Busari to please come forward and felicitate our first panelist, Mr. Anthony, here on the stage. Can we hear a big round of applause? Next, I would request Mr. Rajendra Satalkar to kindly come forward and felicitate our panelist, Mr. Kailash Kulkarni here. I would also request Mr. Avinash Patankar to please come forward and felicitate Mr. Mohit Bhatia. I would now request Mr. Yashwant Rathod to please come forward and felicitate Mr. Akhil Chaturvedi.
And Kailash was just talking about the PIFAA shirt and all. The shirts are still there.
And last but not the least, I would request Karkhanis Kaka to kindly come forward and felicitate our moderator, Mr. Jash Kriplani. मैं चाहूंगी एक बार जोरदार तालियां हो जाए. Let's give it up for such an insightful session conducted by all our panelists and moderator. Thank you so much to all our panelists and our moderator.
Thank you, Jash. Wonderful.